Hey everyone, it's Aaron with the Welty Environmental Center. Today I would like to build on something that we did previously where we built a cloud in a jar. So if you want to check that out, go to our YouTube page and look for Cloud in a Jar Craft. Building on that, today I'd like to think more about our atmosphere. Now the atmosphere is built up of a bunch of gases. Gas is one of the three states of matter. The other two states are solid and liquid. Now, the gases that are in our atmosphere that I want to focus on today are called greenhouse gases. Now, the greenhouse gases provide a warming effect, and that's good. Otherwise, we would freeze. And you know what? Winter's long enough already. So, greenhouse gases aren't altogether bad. They keep us warm. They keep the heat from escaping our atmosphere and keep us warm. Now, what happens if there are too many greenhouse gases in our atmosphere is that too much heat is retained, and then we see a phenomenon called global warming. Now, the greenhouse gases that I want to think about today are carbon dioxide, CO2, methane, CH4, nitrous oxide, N2O, water vapor, H2O, and ozone, O3. Now, I like crafts, so we're going to do a craft to help us think more about the atmosphere. And so things that you might find around your home to do this craft are something that looks like this, maybe an empty plastic jar. This was a Nutella jar that we finished. You will want a piece of string, a cotton ball. You might need some matches, something to poke a hole. So I've got a screwdriver here, and then some tape. Any kind of tape will work. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set this up where we have a little earth hanging inside of our atmosphere. That's our jar with string. So I'll be right back to show you what that looks like. All right, so let's check out what I did here, okay? So I hung our cotton ball from a string that I taped to the top of our jar. And I also have a piece of tape here with a hole in the jar, and we'll talk about what happens there in a minute. And then in here I forgot to mention that you will want a little bit of water at the bottom of your jar. Now, you can do many different experiments with what we have just, right here. So one of the things you could do is you could go ahead and tape that hole shut that I made with the screwdriver, and then just set it just like this out in the sun. And when you set it out in the sun, it will start to heat up the water that we've placed at the bottom. Now there's a lot of water trapped in our atmosphere as water vapor. And so what will happen here is that you'll start to see the jar fog over if you set it out in the sun. And if it starts to fog over, then more heat will get trapped inside the jar. It won't be able to escape through our atmosphere. And you could take a reading now with like a thermometer that reads a thermometer, and record what the temperature is now. And then after it sits out in the sun for a while, record what the temperature is like inside the jar after the water vapor has started to accumulate. Now, once you have done that experiment with the water vapor, you could try to add another type of gas inside of our jar. Now, just from having opened and closed it, it has all of the gases that we find in our atmosphere. It has the CO2, it has the methane, it has the nitrous oxide, it has the water vapor, and the ozone. So, to simulate what would happen if we released more of one type of gas, you can peel the tape back, and that's where this match comes in. All right. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to strike the match, and then so you can see I'm going to put the match so that it releases the gas inside of the jar. Now what this simulates is that our little earth in here has trapped gases. It has gases in that are being released by animals and plants, and then if we are burning fossil fuels on this little planet, it will start to release more of those, and you'll see what happens to the atmosphere. So here I'm going to try to strike the match and see if I can't get it to release gases inside of the jar. All right, let's see here. Well, you know, if my match will light. Well, shoot. I'm not sure what's going on there. Let's try again. Here we go. All right, and then we can put it inside our jar. That didn't quite work either, so we'll try it again. I am outside. It is a little bit windy today. Forgive me. There we go. Now we've got some gas building up in there. And now, once I've let that gas in there, I'm going to quickly tape it shut so that the gas stays in there. And you can do that any number of times to simulate adding another type of greenhouse gas to the jar. Well, I left my jar outside in the sun to heat up. So inside our jar, there's more water vapor, or H2O, and I had already added some extra gases with those matchsticks. And as you can see, the jar, or our atmosphere, has become much cloudier. And what that's doing is it's keeping more of the heat rays inside the jar, so the average temperature in the jar should be heading upwards. And so this is just a fun little experiment that you can do to simulate an atmosphere. You have the nice little atmosphere here from the jar, and we've got our greenhouse gases inside keeping our earth nice and warm. And you can even add some more gases to simulate accumulation of greenhouse gases like CO2 and CH4, or carbon dioxide and methane. Now, one of the questions I get a lot is why, if space is a vacuum, why doesn't our atmosphere just leave us and we're, the simplest answer is that gravity from our planet spinning through space and the mass of the Earth, so gravity, keeps our atmosphere right where it is. If you want to know more about why our atmosphere stays put, I would encourage you to check out NASA or NOAA's web pages. They have good explanations. Anyway, I hope that you try this little craft at home and set it out in the sun and see how the gases in the atmosphere react when heat is added. All right, I hope to see you next time.